We've all got things to do to get ready for maple syrup season, and this is a project I've been putting off because I had to learn from a viewer that when these are shipped, they're shipped on a skid like we built, but they make little openings, so I had to get my sewing measuring tape to wrap around their leg to find out my dimension. So these were like 2 1/16 legs. So we just drilled a hole in a 2x4, and he's anchoring them down with some construction screws for me. If you're not familiar with construction screws, they're real strong. They don't break like a drywall screw does. And they've got a T25 head on them. So it really grabs and bites in on the drill bit instead of skipping like a Phillips head does. Now, when we pull this back out to the woods to place it for maple syrup collection, it won't slide off the skid. And that was the trouble that we had when we moved it for unloading it and painting it. Well, about another week we should be having a maple syrup run. There was a little run about 3 weeks ago, but I knew it wasn't going to last, and I didn't want my tap holes to dry up. Without using check valves, they just won't stay open that long, like from January to April. Last year we went first or second week of April. So now she's ready to go. I had to pull the jack through the snow. He could put it away. He's a lot stronger than me. Had to get it back up on the skid a little bit, so we use this for leverage. And he had a nice strong guy to do that for me. Now if I can just get on to one more job. I'd like to do a little bit of work on my evaporator. I'm thinking about putting together a little makeshift building out of pallets. I gotta do something because the sugar shack out in the woods is a long ways away. It's a long time to boil that much syrup, and it's real nice to just be able to walk out and take care of it. Now, I've never done it on the evaporator before. I've always done it on a flat pan on my cinder block arch. We lose so much heat that way. It's just inefficient as all get out. So I'm ready to do it on the evaporator. Got my bricking video, started working on that. Just one little job at a time. Let's see what happens. So this is my water pump, and the information on it says that it'll pump it 100 feet on a lift. So I'm not real sure about not on a lift, just in a flat area, if that makes a difference. Let me know in the comments below, because these are not things that I know a whole lot about. It says self-suction height is 20 feet. But yeah, 1,300 gallons per hour. So I should be able to drain an 800 gallon pump pretty quickly. I'm having to do 3-inch reduced down to 2-inch. And I have looked everywhere for another one of these PVC fittings. I wanted PVC because it is food grade, water safe, and I need another one here for my discharge hose because I picked up some hose that was a closeout, and you can get Tiger Flex hose, which is real similar to this. This isn't as flexible, and this was by Watts. They have another one called Sioux, like the Indians, and this is 2-inch by 25 feet, and it was like $17 a roll. So I got 50 feet, and we are ready to get this pump set up. I've got everything up on the shelf here, and this is the box for my trash pump. We actually have a backup on hand because we found a good deal on it, but it says at maximum it's 1,600 gallons an hour. And of course the mice have gotten in here and chewed up the rest of the cover. Whew. So this is my evaporator arch, and my pants are all over there on the shelf. He has put off getting it set up. So I'm just kind of rearranging some things. He has some grain cleaning project going on in here. So I moved that all out of the way. I am going to just have to pull that out and start working on it. So I can work on this stuff huffing and puffing all week long trying to get something done and get nowhere. That STAP tank project, I got my holes all drilled in some 2x4s. He said, oh, they're not long enough. They're just going to split. You need longer ones. So he made them double the length. Totally erased all the work I did. You know what I'm talking about. You guys like to go around and undo all the work that we do to get things going. It doesn't matter if it's your wife or your kids or your workers. Your way's the right way, right? So it's on, it's attached. I'm happy for that. It's time to get it skidded out to the woods. I was just looking at the little 40 tractor. Something is wrong with it. It does not want to start, and holy hell if it's just the biggest complication ever. So kind of cleaned out space here so that we can pull it in and work on it. 20 degrees. It's hard to do this stuff. Maple syrup season is tough, isn't it? Okay, so here's what I've kind of got going in my head. I've got this old corn crib. We've used it for animal shelter in the past. It's kind of an odd design where the supports for the center of the roof, there's 2x4s going up. So there's kind of these like hallways on each side, or a hallway down the center. The floor's in bad shape. You can't walk on it without falling through. There's no way it will hold an evaporator. A bricked evaporator is roughly 1,000 pounds. Of course, that depends on the size of it. I'm not real sure. So once you get it insulated, bricked, it's fire brick and the mortar, and then you put your pans on top, all that weight starts adding up. And this building is not ready for that. So eventually, this needs a new roof. It's up on blocks. We have thought about moving it. Our house was built in a peculiar way. It's facing out the wrong way. So we've got this window here going into our side of our house. This is the kids' train room and our walk-in garage. It's actually the main entrance that we have to use for the house, because you can see that's the deck over there. There's no walkway or driveway up to it. It's one of those, if somebody knocks on that door, you know they don't belong here. So last year, I evaporated up by the shop, which is towards the road. It's probably 200 feet from the road. So at one point in the afternoon, I was in having a rest, and baby was nursing, so when the doorbell rang, I didn't get up to go answer it. But I had peeked out the window as they were walking away, and it was a couple of police officers. Now, we're out rural, and I didn't see what kind of police uniform they were wearing. It could have been state police because they were blue. Our city has blue. The county has brown. But we still had our driveway blocked, so I don't know who it was. So I thought maybe they're checking in because they could see the fire from the road, and maybe somebody called it in thinking that the barn was on fire. I don't know. So, sorry to make you dizzy. Down up that driveway. So if I did it back here, it's got privacy shelter here. The house and this building would block it, but the ground's not level, and an evaporator has to be level. So I could make a subfloor. It just gets more and more complicated. I'm like, okay, oh, I gotta do something. I gotta do it quick. I basically have a week left. We have a nice concrete pad up over there where the fuel tank is. The fuel tank is on skids, but it's froze to the ground. So that could be dragged away and moved someplace else. Ideally, I think that fuel tank would be better over on the other side of the barn. But I don't think you want fuel storage that close to a hay barn. Probably not a great idea. So he had talked about moving it closer to the tool shed over there on the side. But the cement truck didn't get moved. And I'll be darned if that Great Dane storage trailer is not still there. It's still there. So, So I saw on WT Farm Girl's channel, she just has 2 pallet shelves or scaffolding wrapped in plastic. I could totally do that. The question is where, because it's got to be flat and level, and there's not a whole lot of flat, level, clear area here, and it's building after building up front. I really would like to be up by the house. Another area would be back by the bees, which is still quite a ways out. Ideally, we're thinking in the future, the reason for sugar shacks being in the woods is because then you're not tearing everything up, getting the sap from point A to point B. There's about 10 or 12 trees up here in the yard. So to take an IBC tote of sap from up here out to the woods would be easier than bringing the wood sap with all that weight up here and tearing up the lane. It's just a farm lane. There's no gravel. There's no real road. So it doesn't get soft. It gets muddy. And there are low-lying areas that the field drains through down to the creek. So there's an old sugar shack out in the woods, but it is only 2-sided. And we're a little concerned about having all this equipment out there. We kind of seem to live in an area of mischievousness. And, you know, we're far enough away from Lansing that, you know, nobody comes around here, nobody knows it's there. But if somebody was, hunting on nearby property, you know, and kind of exploring things, if it's not locked up, I just don't like the idea of that. So here's some options I thought of. Okay, so there's a Sam's Club in Lansing that closed. They have these cart corrals, which are basically like a steel-framed structure with a metal roof. I'm wondering about calling the Sam's that is open and finding out about trying to buy one of those, but it might not be worth it. I don't know. It's probably 8 or 10 feet wide by about 20 feet long. My evaporator, I think, is 6 feet long. I could tack up a couple pallets, make a lean-to. They have an actual carport at Menards for $1,000. I could go get it today. Everyone says you can have it built in about 2 hours. It would be really easy. It's open sides, open ends. Really, we need a west protection and a north protection, so that's not a huge deal. That hawk, did you see that? That was the hawk that keeps flying around here terrorizing my chickens. I'm filling my water tanks right now. He likes to go by me and threaten me and let me know he's still around. So I really kind of would like to make a decision and kind of start working on it tomorrow. We got another cold week here. We decided today that we would butcher another cow so that we can use this cold weather for hanging and get our freezer filled so I can get it done before the maple syrup season starts. Because once that goes, all of a sudden, you know, it's April, and then you got warm weather, and you can't hang a cow. So it's one job on top of another. My brain, I'm telling you, coffee and good sleep. Hi. Is in the truck? He lost his coffee today. Couldn't find it anywhere. He's been working on his fifth wheel and on his trailer for the truck. And there's too many jobs. What would we do with any downtime? There's nothing on TV. It's cold out. We're bundled up. I got my nice burn coat on, my Carhartt bibs. Got my Carhartt hat. I'll tell you. I didn't see this little Smurf hat. I had to buy a man's hat to get the brown. And it's way too tall. Maybe I could run it through my sewing machine and make it smaller. And my braid makes it rise up all day long. So that's kind of what's going on with the maple syrup. I guess I'm going to kind of think about this during the night. I just can't sleep at night. I read my book. If you know anything about maple syrup and you're trying to expand into it, I recommend 2 things. The Cornell University Maple Tubing Notebook. It has got everything in there, tubing and otherwise. It talks about sap. It talks about cooking it. It talks about all the research that goes into the tubing, different sizes of it, how to tap a tree, when to tap a tree, everything. Really good book. Another one I have is the Sugar Maker's Companion, which is kind of a backyard maple syrup book. And the Maple Producer's Manual, or Maple Syrup Producer's Manual. That's the key one right there, because I go back through over and over and over. This will be my first year running that evaporator if I can get it all put together and set up. Otherwise, I have to go get cinder blocks and do it on the flat pan if I don't, which is the simplest, easiest way to do it, but then I'm outside freezing like crazy. And drawing off, there's no draw off. You have to lift the pan and drain it. It's always a two-person job at midnight, 1 a.m. It's hard work. So I got to get to finishing up my chores. The sun's going down. I don't know if you can see this. That's the moon up there in the corner. So we got about a 3/4 moon, which means full moon this week. All the crazies come out, right? So that's just what's going on with the maple syrup. I'll let you know what I decide tonight when I stay up. Gotta lay off the coffee. Bye.